Yes, I know I said one a day, and we're still doing them one by one, okay? Chill out. I ended up taking a vacation, a hiatus, if you will, for the weekend to celebrate my birthday, hang out with my cousins. So, that's why there weren't episodes the past few days, and I apologize, but you're gonna get a lot of content today to make up for that, because we have, at least 5 Danny Phantom reviews to do today, on top of doing some extra movie reviews in between. So, yeah, you guys are getting plenty of content, so don't worry. I'm gonna make your wait worth it. What's up? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to Animation. I'm searching for anything and everything animation. Welcome back to Phantom February 2. Let's dive headfirst into Doctor's Disorders, Episode 2 of Season 2. And this is a pretty wild episode, too. So, without further ado, let's start with our basic plot, and then we'll get to the full-on synopsis. Ghost bugs slowly affect the kids of Casper High, causing them to exhibit ghost powers and be sent to an ominous hospital for observation. Danny must find out what's going on. Because, he's Danny Phantom, it's gonna have something to do with ghosts. That part of the episode's a little bit predictable, yes. Okay, one sec, I'm gonna move you guys up here. There we go. Actually, better idea. One second. A little lopsided, but this is a screen recorder, so you guys won't see that. Okay, now we got everything going. We have the plot done. Let's jump straight into the synopsis, and yes, full spoilers ahead. A teacher is ambushed by a giant ghost bug in Casper High. The teacher is voiced by Rob Paulsen, doing his Pinky from Pinky and the Brain voice, which I found a pretty cool little Easter egg if you're paying attention. Danny Phantom takes the bug outside and does battle with it, sending it into an electric wire where it gets zapped. Where instead of dying like a normal bug zapper, it explodes into hundreds of tinier bugs, much to Danny's dismay, and it causes chaos in the school. Back in school, Danny meets up with Tucker, who has made himself a foul-smelling cologne aptly named Foley by Tucker Foley, which he constantly sprays himself with, because he thinks it's an attractive scent when it's really not. It smells like gym socks. Their words, not mine. They meet up with Sam and walk past the nurse's office, which causes Tucker to panic, having a fear of anything hospital-related. Makes sense. That is a very real fear that a lot of people do have. I don't remember the exact term or word for it, but yeah, people do have that kind of fear, so that is realistic. Afterwards, the ghost bugs start to affect every single student in Casper High by literally going through their skins, phasing the same way that Danny phases through walls and floors, causing them to not only feel sick, but also exhibit ghost powers for some reason, including both Jazz and Sam. Going ghost, Danny tries to capture them all but fails to do so, leaving the entire school to have to be quarantined. Tucker comes over to Danny with one of the ghost bugs, saying it's not biting or phasing through him. He and Danny theorize it's due to his cologne. The parents nearby are stuck to reluctantly trust Dr. Bert Rand, who moves all the students to North Mercy Hospital, or as it's actually called, No Mercy Hospital, an abandoned building. To examine the kids, Jack expresses his sorrow over for Jazz, blowing his nose in a handkerchief and then handing it to Danny, saying that was his grandfather's. Gross. Not trusting this doctor, naturally, Danny takes a reluctant Tucker to the hospital where a ghost shield prevents his access. As a result, he pretends to be one of the 6 students of Casper High to get in, while Tucker waits armed with a Fenton lipstick, which doubles as a ghost laser. Inside, Danny manages to find Sam through her scream, and when she's discovered, she's sharing the same room as Paulina. Yeah, that's a big yikes. He finds out from both girls that no one is explaining anything to them. Afterwards, Bert Rand enters the room and gasses everyone to sleep, including Danny, who finds out the doctor is actually Bertrand, the assistant of Spectra, before passing out. So yes, this is the return of Spectra and Bertrand from another episode back in Season 1, I believe. Which we'll talk more about later when we get to trivia and facts and stuff. He finds himself in an operating room where Spectra has been waiting for him after hearing Danny's cry for help because he's strapped down by ghost restraints. I don't know exactly what they call it. Tucker sprays himself with his cologne and uses defensive lipstick and reluctantly makes his way into the hospital. After meeting Sam and getting her to open a vent he can go through, Tucker goes over to rescue Danny, since Sam is currently facing her own dilemma trying to control how to fly. Most of this episode, she's literally pinned to a ceiling, and it's hilarious. And this thing is messing with my brightness again. I don't know why it does that. It's weird. Okay, that's better. Sorry about that. Like I said, this is old school off the cuff, so there will be stuttering and stuff like that. So, just a fair warning. Back in the operating room, Spectra reveals her plans to Danny, using all the good qualities that the kids possess to help make her a new body, with Danny being the icing on the cake. His genetics needed to lock her powers in place and forever give her youth, while every single student in Casper High will burn out from these ghost powers, which are steadily increasingly too much for them to handle. Spectra stuffs Danny into a containment chamber where a vacuum hose comes to suck up his genetics. Thinking fast, Danny takes out his dad's handkerchief and lets that get sucked by that vacuum instead. Spectra wears her new body and flies off, leaving Tucker to free Danny. Once freed, Danny goes off and fights Bertrand, now shapeshifted into a demented zombie-like doctor. And let's just talk about this design for a second. First of all, the transformation is actually pretty horrifying. He's like bubbling under the skin and he slowly becomes bigger and bigger. But the one part that stands out to me is that his cranium explodes and you see his exposed brain, which is what is the title card art you see here. That's the design of the big monstrous Bertrand. Like, he is really, really cool, well designed in this episode. Way better than his design in the original episode he comes from season 1. And again, like, the fact that I was able to get away with that in a mostly kids show is surprisingly pretty good. Like, this show definitely goes in with the dark references and the humor. Which is what I like about it, because I'm into that demented kind of stuff. And then he sucks him up inside the Fenton thermos after he tries to take out Tucker. Afterwards, Spectra comes to fight where she is easily a match for Danny, pinning him down with just one foot on his chest. His DNA she thought she stole from Danny kicks in, only to find herself now as big as Jack himself. That was a really nice little heel turn where she's like, I'm about to have ultimate power in 3, 2, 1, and she turns into the same body size as Jack. Not me. Just saying that for the record. Not me, Jack from Danny Phantom. There is a difference, people. Don't get it twisted. Discovering she has the wrong DNA, Spectra goes one step further in a transformation and becomes a living booger. Yeah, I don't know why that's there either. It's a bit weird, but it's also kind of funny. Meanwhile, Danny handles Spectra. Tucker frees everyone from the bugs by sending his cologne through the air conditioner. Afterwards, Danny delivers a punch that splatters Spectra everywhere. It's pretty violent, but since it's not red, it doesn't need to be censored. Because it's not blood. He sucks both her and the bugs up, then thanks Tucker for his help. Tucker expresses his luck of being the only kid in the hospital to not be injured, only for Sam to fall on him after her ghost powers are deteriorated, which breaks his leg in the process. Tucker is sent to another actual hospital, where he's given gratitude from Danny's parents for helping Jazz, neither of them aware ghosts did play a role. Thinking humans having ghost powers is far-fetched. Leaving a disgruntled Tucker with a senile old man, Danny and Sam leave, much to a distressed Tucker, and Danny says it's not technically a cry for help as he and Sam run away laughing in glee. Yeah. This definitely was very accurate to the teens of the 2000s. So yeah, that's the synopsis and full plot of the episode. In my opinion, it's a lot of fun. Like, the hospital thing is demented, but it's also really cool, and they do it in a way that's still, well, keeps it a kid's show, but it's not, like, safe. It's a little hard to explain. Like, you have to actually watch the episode to really understand it, but if you did watch the episode, then you understand what I'm talking about here. So, props to everyone on the team for managing to make an episode like this dark, but also managing to make it somewhat kid-friendly. So, that deserves props, because something like that is never easy. Alright, next up, Oh, first we have to do series continuity, I forgot. This is the first episode in which Danny's suit has the logo in which he got in the previous episode, which is now in the opening theme song. Like I said, it's weird that until season 2 that we didn't get the actual full Danny Phantom costume with the logo. It's interesting. Oh, there's not a lot of trivia on this one. That's surprising. Okay, let's do trivia and then we'll do highlights. This episode is quite similar to an episode of Drake and Josh titled Pegging Dr. Drake when Josh is scared of going to hospitals. I didn't even realize that until that just popped up on my screen, but that's actually really cool. Not to mention, that's one of my favorite episodes of Drake and Josh. And whenever I run out of Danny Phantom episodes, which will be next season, well, next year, because next year it'll be the final season of Danny Phantom Season 3. So who knows, maybe after that I'll do Drake and Josh for February, or I'll find somewhere else. But I will definitely find some way to talk about Drake and Josh. It is a hilarious show. It's still my favorite live-action series, and it deserves more recognition. So, yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do that. I would love to discuss Drake and Josh at some point with you guys, because it is a hilarious, super fun show, even to this day. Okay, now for the highlights, and this time I actually do remember the highlights, so I don't need to scroll this time, so it will be a little less unprofessional. The first highlight is just the entire hospital. The way it's all set up, it's like something out of a classic horror movie, but it's done in a way where it's also kind of comedic, and it's not all that dark and twisted. Like, yeah, there's some dark and twisted things in here, like seeing all the kids suffering sickness with these ghost powers is freaky. And some of it is really terrifying imagery, especially what happened to Jazz, where she's literally just a big cloud of ghost energy stuck in a jar with only her head peering out. Like, that is freaky. But at the same time, I think it also really goes into how this episode is going into that darker territory while also keeping it a kid's show. And I think it did that very, very well. And then my second highlight, and this is probably, in my opinion, one of the funniest parts of the episode, is when, after Danny saves everybody, he ends up getting in front of Paulina again, and Sam, to try and knock him out of it, allows her boot to fall off her foot while she's still floating in midair, and it just bonks him right on the head. Like, that whole conflict, like, they draw it out, definitely very, very drawn out, but it's hilarious, and that little scene is really good. It's like, sorry, my boot slipped. I forget the exact line, but it's pretty funny. So, yep, there is that, and that is that episode. And then the last thing I need to look up is what episode Spectra and Bertrand were originally from, because I forget the title. I have not watched season 1 in a bit. I just jumped straight into season 2, so please forgive me. My Brother's Keeper, that's what it was. My Brother's Keeper from season 1. That was their introduction. Yes, okay, now I remember. Thank you. I knew it was one of the episodes from season 1, one that I actually have on one of those old Nickelodeon compilation discs, but I just couldn't remember, like, the actual name of the episode. But yeah, thank you. My Brother's Keeper. Thank you, Danny Phantom Wikia. Okay, so we've discussed the synopsis, the plot, the continuity, the trivia, the one fact of trivia we got in this episode, and pretty much praising a lot of its nice, darker horror elements while still keeping it a kid's show. Now, what do I think about the episode overall? Oh, this episode's fantastic, man. Like, what a way to follow up from the premiere. Going straight to the abandoned hospital setting like an old horror movie, but doing it in a way that it's not, like, too much for kids to handle. Like, there is some dark, freaky stuff in this episode, but it's very in line with Danny Phantom's whole aesthetic, design, and overall series mentality, if you know what I'm saying. But this is a really fantastic episode. If I had to really give one nitpick, it's the fact that the Spectra fight, well, not the Spectra fight, the Bertrand part of the fight is really, really brief. Like, Danny knocks him around a little bit, then he turns into his giant, hulking, monstrous brain exposed form, and then Tucker helps free Danny, and then he goes into the thermos in only a few seconds. Well, yeah, in only a few seconds. Like, come on. You could have made that a little bit more interesting. But the actual Spectra fight was great, so it kind of makes up for that. But I think because of that, though, that is a part that does bother me a bit now the more I think about it. Because, like, you make this giant, awesome, scary-looking design for Bertrand that was not in his original episode, and you barely do anything with it. Like, come on, you have a design like that, use it. But, okay, that's enough of my nitpicks. Overall, this is another fantastic episode of this fantastic series. Final Verdict is an easy 9 out of 10. And this show just keeps getting better. Like, every single episode just keeps getting better. Alright, that's all I got. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this every single day. And I'll see you guys later tonight when we take a look at the next episode of Danny Phantom, Pirate Radio.